Hi, Louise.
Hi, Sarah. I like that we have the same color on
I know.
for those of you on
YouTube
YouTube.
watchers. Look at this. We didn't even plan it. We're just turning into
Each other.
twinning again.
We've done it before. Well, what are we
Yes.
doing? We're doing.
The Girls Who Went Away by Anne Fessler. We are on the chapters Jeanette and followed by Ruth.
Oh, yeah. These
Once again,
stories.
just the common theme among these stories are the parents
Ah,
not wanting, because here Jeanette was with the boyfriend,
yeah. I like this part. My boyfriend and I talked about he was a really good football. He didn't have to do anything. He couldn't be married. It's all on like, and yeah, it's just that part always irks me too because we don't want to disrupt his life.
it was interesting. She completely shut down
Yes.
and disassociate. She went into a total disassociation. Couldn't, just kept thinking of it as that baby, put
Yeah.
it out of herself. She went to work for the government. I thought this was interesting.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, she put it out of her head so much that I don't even think she thought about, so when on the application, they're like, have you ever lived anywhere else? So she gets called into the
Hmm.
office and he's like, you lied. She's like, what? And she had just completely put out that she'd gone away and had this baby. So didn't they let her go?
Yeah. Well, and she had lived so she went away to San Francisco is 1952, didn't tell her parents, hid it with a
Mm-hmm.
girdle, told her sister, I need to come. Her sister understood. It was like, I'm
Uh-huh.
in trouble. No questions asked, went to San Francisco. When she had the baby, that's what you're talking about. She said, take it away, take that baby
Yeah.
away, and
That
yelled it.
baby. Yeah.
And then when she got fired from the job you're talking about, what was interesting, there was an older lady outside the door. And she said something like, well, she didn't look at her because it was shameful, but she said, he didn't have to do that to you.
Yeah. And then she ends up meeting somebody at nursing school, I guess,
Yeah.
that had told her about, well, do you want to find your child? And she's like, what? And but
Why?
she went to the meeting, the Adoption Rights Association, and
Yeah.
then some woman had said, I yearned for my child, and she's like, what is this concept of yearning? And um but and then the searcher called and found her son, and he'd had a
Yes.
terrible
Uh,
childhood. And I mean, just terrible. His mother,
horrible.
adoptive mother, had been an alcoholic and just terrible. And so they ended up, um, and his mother drank herself to death, the adoptive mother.
God.
He was young when it happened, like no screening, obviously.
No,
So
none.
she ended up, falling in love with him and just then talking about how that adoption just totally colored her life and finally realized the trauma of it all. And
Yeah. And she said her therapist or something, finally saw a therapist. I think her girls, didn't she have two girls that were very
hmm
supportive about
yep,
him?
very supportive.
And then her therapist said, she said it gave her the permission to feel and how much she had shut down. And that's the thing. Like she literally shut down, even in her marriage, and she
I don't
said,
think it was her that went to therapy. I think it was Ruth.
oh,
I
was
think,
it Ruth?
yeah, it was Ruth.
But she said something like she wasn't a good parent to her daughters or something, right? Because,
yeah, I think, she didn't
yeah,
realize she was so disassociated
yeah,
from the whole thing,
yeah,
that it affected every area. And then once he
yeah,
came into her life, then she was able to be a better parent to her daughters.
yeah. So she must have been one of those kind of cold, shut down people. Like,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, what people have to put away is a lot.
Yes. I mean, I like, just for me, even reading these stories, I come at them from not as the adoptive child, but as a parent losing their child.
Yes,
I can't, it just, I'm so raw when I read it.
I know.
Um,
Me too.
Ruth was a really
Oof.
tragic story because she and her
Yes.
boyfriend wanted to be, they got married, they moved in together,
They
they
had
were
a
building
little
this life.
apartment. Yeah.
His parents cut them off, and then but his mother just got to him. She just chipped and chipped and chipped away until finally he convinced Ruth that they were giving the baby up for adoption. But she didn't, she can't, they knocked her out
Yes.
for the birth. She
Yeah.
came to, and the baby'd been adopted out. I mean, she
She
was
didn't even know.
devastated.
Yeah. It's so wrong. It's so wrong. Her rights, she never had anyone. Just like the day before or something, he's like, we're giving the baby up for adoption.
Right. She's like, "What
Can
are you
you
talking?"
imagine? Like,
No. I mean,
oh,
the paternal, they stayed together, they had
yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Um, she went to
Oh, right. She went to
she
therapy.
went to the therapist, and the therapist supported her and told her, find your child. So she got the adoption papers, and then there were lies in the adoption. The other interesting thing I thought was that
Uh-huh.
she and her mother-in-law finally got close, and then
Oh,
her mother-in-law
right.
killed herself, right?
Yeah.
She'd struggled with depression, but she felt like the mother-in-law's guilt ultimately got to her
I
and
thought as soon as I
contributed to
read
the
that, I
suicide.
thought so because her mother-in-law was anti her and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually became to love her and they became very close, went on a trip to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
She came back, had a wonderful trip with her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law kills herself at 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like there had to be some of that because she made
I
them
think
give
it
up her
was
grandchild. I mean,
right.
and then her daughter, they found each other and she was a rabbi. I thought,
Right. So, and it
yeah.
took the daughter was 32
Yeah. That's how old I was.
when she found it. That's how old I was when I
Yeah.
met them too. And the daughter wasn't quite ready, so they exchanged emails,
But the adopted mom was
but she
into
was
it.
a breast cancer survivor,
Right.
right? Breast
Right.
cancer, so she needed her daughter to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the adoptive mother was very, very helpful, very into it and
Yeah,
kind and
like she got married. She was getting married right when the birth mother
hmm
found her, right when Ruth found her
Ruth found
daughter.
her.
And the mother, the girl, she did right. Like the 32-year-old, the daughter did say, okay, here's some pictures and I will be in touch. This is a lot for me right now, blah, blah, blah. The adoptive mother said, when we're walking her down the aisle, you're with us too,
Yeah.
which I thought that's actually pretty progressive. I
Going
mean,
back to the papers in
mhm,
the adoption file, right? So it was full of lies about how she wanted, they had tons of home visits, that Ruth
right,
wanted to give her away, and all this just lies. And Ruth fought and fought and fought
to
to
get it
get
out.
those retracted from the records, get the lies retracted, because she didn't want, if her daughter saw that one day,
Yeah.
to think that she had,
That's why this is important because so
willingly
many
gave her away.
people, so many adoptees, as we know, are in the adoptee groups, think maybe, well, they didn't want me. I
Mm-hmm.
know this about it, but you don't really know about it.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much loss when we read this. It's always like you have to deal with breath, like a heavy heart.
Mm-hmm. I
It's
know. It's
huge.
very, I mean, and she says, I think any woman who's had a child knows the depth of feeling she has
Mm,
for that child, and can imagine the pain you would go through if you lost that child, to not even be allowed to look at your child, to
mm.
feel it inside of you, and then have it gone into thin air. It leaves you feeling like a shell.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I went to my reunion and my
Yes.
aunt gave me some letters that she found that she was shocked to find from my mother. They're not letters, they're more like her writing.
Like
And I was
journaling.
journaling, but like written really creatively. You can't see it here, but kind of creatively. And she put this one little line I'm going to write because it's like a whole long thing, but I was 2 years old. So she said, I don't like to cry even for her. I like to think that she's happy, happy, happy wherever she is, but I can't help remembering. You go down a little bit, and then she says, um, when she sees other people with their children, oh, how old do you think that little girl is? How old's your little girl, ma'am? She's so cute. I always feel better if they say something different. She'll be two soon. That's gut wrenching. That's when it hurts worse. That's when I look at them and think, do they look like, is she with wonderful people? God, I hope. Then I'd like to see if they had a little boy. Nothing will ever be the same with me. Like on and on. This whole
Mm.
letter. Yeah. And the beginning's really angry, like upsetting. And it's like, I just got this why we're reading this book, right?
Mm.
I know. Thanks for thank you, Sarah. Sarah's touched. I know. That's a lot. Anyway, we will.
Ooh. Well, thanks for making me cry, Louise.
I got you to cry. That's you're always teasing me.
Ah,
Yeah.
well.
we're sitting there
Okay.
right now. So
You're gonna have
we,
to read more to me
I will,
at another time.
I'll be sending you all of it. So we
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna
are,
be seeing
oh
you
my gosh,
very,
Kim's,
very, very soon. So you can bring them with me.
oh,
With
I will.
you.
We'll do that one night. Won't we be
Oh my
fun?
gosh, that really was
Yeah.
got me. These chapters. And
Yeah.
so we are on to chapter 6, going away.
Yeah. Going
Oof.
away. And then
Mm.
we're going to talk to Gaynor. So
Yes, we have Gaynor coming up in
see you in a
just a
minute.
second. I'll see you in a minute.